This is Ben Davison. Subscribe to Stephen Icon.
December 2018, Los Angeles, commissioned by the California State Athletic Commission. The first fight between Deontay Wilder and Tyson Fury took place, where Tyson Fury, he wore Everlast MX gloves filled with horsehair with red tape around the wrist. The rematch took place February last year, 2020, in Las Vegas, commissioned by the Nevada State Athletic Commission, where Tyson Fury wore Paffin Sport gloves filled with foam with white tape around the wrist. Comparable differences: two separate fights, two separate states, two separate lots of gloves, two separate lots of filling for the gloves, and two different colours of the wrist tape. So you can distinguish between the pair even though they were both green. Now, first and foremost, there's going to be quite a few people, Sport and Icon, talk about Deontay Wilder again. Well, for whatever reason, I do tend to get these comments quite a lot, right? Well, Wilder, he is a boxer. Well, I know it's a grey area, but he is officially a boxer, and this is a boxing channel. Anything that goes on with boxing, I'll try and cover it if it's a top story, okay? But I'm getting a lot of these comments, which is, why is it that you're talking about the fact that I showed video footage of a white substance falling out of the towel of JD's from the rematch? The fact that I showed footage of Deontay Wilder changing gloves moments before his ring walk with Tyson Fury for the rematch. Two separate lots of questions needed to be answered. Correct? Now, I never accused Deontay Wilder of any wrongdoings in either situation. But this is where a lot of the comments are coming from. Why is it that I'm not talking about the gloves? Now, first and foremost, I have spoken about the gloves several times. So if you're going to ask me the question in the comment section here on YouTube, why is it that I'm not speaking about the gloves? At least find out if I have spoken about the gloves, because you'll find quite a few videos where I have. Okay, but this one is solely dedicated to some of the fanatical fans of Deontay Wilder who seem to merge the two fights together. They can't separate them. They can't see the difference. Listen, some of you guys may well be colorblind. I am colorblind myself. Okay, so the gloves look pretty much the same. And you have to get pretty up close to see the writing on the first fight, Everlast, and on the rematch, Paffin Sport. Okay, but even though I am colorblind, I can see that the tape on the first fight and the tape on the second fight, as in around the wrist, are totally separate. I can separate the first fight from the first fight quite comfortably. Why can't you? And the reason why you can't is because you don't know how to. It's because you're so filled in this bubble of excuses that you can't separate them. Ricky Hatton pulled up the glove on Tyson Fury. Ricky Hatton wasn't in the rematch with Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder. Ricky Hatton stayed here in the UK because he had another fighter who was fighting around that time. So Ricky Hatton wasn't in the corner of Tyson Fury in the rematch. So whatever you think about the gloves in the first fight, whatever you think about Ricky Hatton happened in the first fight. What's that got to do with a rematch? Didn't Deontay Wilder say after the fight, Tyson Fury's got pillows for fists, that's why I could walk right the way through his punches and yada, yada, yada. Okay, so what's the problem? If his gloves were floppy, what's the problem? He never hurt Wilder. What's that got to do with a rematch? What's that got to do with the fact that there was no distortion of the gloves for Tyson Fury? The gloves were not flopping around. There was no problems with the gloves. And as a side note as well, JD's, Deontay Wilder's trainer manager, was in the changing room overseeing Tyson Fury on both fights, get his hands wrapped, gloves put on, tape put around the wrist, signed off by the commissions. So if you're saying there's something wrong with the gloves, then you're saying that JD's on both occasions missed it. On both occasions. Is he incompetent? Is he in on the screw? Are you also saying that the California State Athletic Commission from the first fight, the Nevada State Athletic Commission from the second fight, are also in on a so-called screw of Deontay Wilder? What is wrong with you? What is wrong with you clowns? I've never known a fan base like you in all my life. People say that the Floyd Mayweather fans were bad, the Manny Pacquiao fans were bad, the Amir Khan fans were bad, etc., etc. Nobody's even comparable to you guys. It's not even close. It's chalk and cheese. The fact that you can't distinguish between the first fight and the second fight baffles me. But we're going to cover the first fight, okay? Briefly, just so you know, even though I've spoken about it before. Everlast MX gloves from the first fight. They had no effect on Deontay Wilder one way or the other. Never hurt Wilder one way or another. He could walk through Tyson Fury's punches, remember? They were filled with horsehair. When you get moisture on them, damp on them, they will distort. Next time you go get your hair cut, if of course you have enough to get your hair cut, ask if you can take some of that hair home. Sprinkle some water on it. Just a little bit, a little spray of water on it. See what happens to that hair. It clots. It distorts. This is what happens. Team Wilder agreed for Fury to wear those gloves in the first fight. That's why it happens. Tyson Fury isn't the only fighter in history to have worn Everlast MX gloves filled with horsehair, or any other kind of brand of gloves with horsehair. Muhammad Ali, you can see quite a few fights where he's flicking the glove like it's a wet sock. Because he's wearing horsehair-filled gloves. This is why. But the first fight has no bearing on the bloody rematch, you complete fucktard. I don't understand why am I still getting comments now, several of them per day over the last couple of weeks, about the gloves. What have the gloves got to do with the rematch? What have the gloves, the floppy gloves, got to do with Deontay Wilder getting bounced up and down the canvas? They are two separate fights, two separate gloves. What is that got to do with anything? You may say, oh, well, it proves that he cheated in the first fight, so therefore it stands to reason that's why he cheated in the rematch. You complete clowns. You clowns. Two separate commissions. So you're saying that the Nevada State Athletic Commission were in on Tyson Fury, somehow managing to squeeze an egg weight into his gloves. So he can get past the Nevada State Athletic Commission, he can get past Deontay Wilder's manager trainer, JD's, and get past the WBC, as well as, and then get past the referee when he checks the gloves right before the bell goes. You're saying that Fury somehow managed to do that? Really? He must be a fucking genius. I ain't gonna lie, he must be a damn genius. And if he could get away with it all, big up to him. Somehow he managed to get past all of these situations and managed to do it. And managed to take his gloves off at the end of the fight, hand them over to the commission, and they didn't notice either. Nobody managed to notice him with all the cameras and that around that something fell out of his glove. Or a member of his team pulled something out of the glove, put it in their pocket before they hand the gloves over. Come on now, what's wrong with you? Why am I still seeing comments of, why is it that you're not talking about the gloves, the floppy gloves, yada, yada, yada. That's why Deontay Wilder got hurt in the rematch. That's why he's got a dent in his head. You are complete plums. Absolute morons. At least get the facts right. I have already spoken about the gloves in previous videos, so there's your first fault. Your second fault is they're two separate fights. At least separate them. At least know what it is that you're looking at. If you can't see which one's Path and Sport and which one is Everlast MX, look at the tape around the wrists. Red tape, first fight. White tape, rematch. Red tape, first fight. White tape, rematch. Should I say it again? Separate the fights. Doesn't matter what you think about the first fight. I've just told you about the first fight, but whatever you think about it has no bearing on the rematch. None whatsoever. Stop talking about the damn gloves. There was no problem with the gloves in either fight. None whatsoever. They didn't distort. They didn't flop in the rematch because they were totally separate, different brands of glove. Different padding. First fight, horsehair. Rematch, foam. Get dampness on the foam, they don't distort. They just don't. But if there's any questions about gloves, go see your boy, Deontay Wilder. Ask him why he changed his gloves moments before the ring walk for the rematch. Is he accusing Tyson Fury of cheating because he tried to cheat and because he never managed to land on Tyson Fury, therefore he's deflecting? Well, I tried to cheat and therefore nobody questioned my gloves, so let's question Tyson Fury. Maybe he did it and that's why he managed to beat me up and put a dent in my head, even though the dent was already there before the fight. Go check the footage. It was there before the fight. Amazing that, isn't it? Anyway, drop your thoughts below, click thumbs up, subscribe, catch you all in the next video.